Welcome to YouTooSpain Live, and this week I'll be chatting with a Spanish lawyer about buying and selling property in Spain. You'll get all of the legal must-knows for 2025 from my guest Charisse from CPG Lawyers. So join us with questions and comments on the live chat or in the comments below if you're watching afterwards, because you are a part of this too. You are very welcome to YouTooSpain. Let's have the theme song. Oh, yes, and that's groovy. Speaking of groovy, let's welcome my wonderful guest for today. It's Charisse, the lawyer. Hola, Charisse.
Hello, Andrew. Thank you for contact again with me.
Yes, it's great to have you back on the show, and you've got a little bit of a cold going on
Oh
today.
my God, yes, 1 week ago. So sorry for my voice, but I'm trying to do my best.
That's okay. It is great to have you back on the show anyway. So let's just say a quick hello to anybody who's joining us on the live chat. And Jason's Webb is there. Good morning to you. And Anton Kez, A&K, hola todos. And I will have a look at that as people join us and say hello to them. So I know that there's more people than that watching. Paul Cook says good morning. And we will speak to you. Make sure you give us a wave and say something on the live chat. I've put the contact details for our guest on the top there, the top comment. So if you need to get in touch, make a note of that. I'll also put it on the video description below. So, Charisse, for people who've not seen you before on YouTooSpain, tell us about what you do and what you're going to be chatting about today.
I'm a lawyer, obviously, and we are a law firm in Marbella, but we provide advice, legal advice in Spain, specialized obviously in real estate and immigration law. We help people to come to Spain, to invest, to buy, to get a visa, and I think that is our specialization.
Brilliant. And tell us about Spain as being a really good destination for property buyers at the moment.
I think yes, obviously. I think that the British people are the most the people that want to come to Spain always, and we have obviously we don't have a lot of option now with after Brexit, but I think that is a very good destination. We have a very good food, we have very good weather, and it's a beautiful country to invest, to buy, to live here, to retire.
It is indeed. Now, buying property here, like any country, you've got a lot of legal complexity. So let's
Yeah.
dive straight in and get to the crux of the matter, which is why is hiring a lawyer essential when you're buying a property in Spain, and what are the main issues that buyers have?
I think that is very important. The first point, in my opinion, is the language. You don't have the same language that us. There are many documents that you can understand. Sometimes the people sign the documents before to check with the lawyers, and then we can have a consequence. So for me, it's very important to have a legal advice before to sign every document that you have. I have experience sometimes that the people visit a property and they love that property, and maybe they sign the reservation contract, and after, when we have the due diligence, when we check the documents, the license, and everything about that, we have to check. We have problem with that. So I think that is very important to be assisted with a lawyer before to sign the documents. You don't understand very good the language, and obviously it's a complex because we have the license, the debts, that the charges of the property. There are many things to be into account.
Yeah, because it could be just one small clause in a contract that's
Exactly.
translated wrong. Yeah.
And sometimes, Andrew, what the problem, I understand that everybody do the work that he do, but sometimes the real estate agency say, no, don't worry, this is very easy, sign, and then we can pay back the money if you don't want. And no, because after, when we have the documents and we are in contact with the other lawyer of the seller or the buyer, we find the problems. So always, I think that before to sign every document, it's very important to be in contact with a lawyer.
Absolutely, absolutely. And, sorry to everyone who can hear the background noise there. Charisse is in a hotel at the moment. She's not in her office, so it's a kind of a public area, but it's a quiet hotel apart from that.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the quiet, the most quiet hotel, but it's very complicated. Sorry.
Yeah, that's not a problem. As long as they don't play any music, because otherwise we might have copyright issues. There we go.
No, I don't think so.
Anyway, so as part of what you do, it's a good idea to contact a lawyer, obviously, right at the beginning, because you can do things like obtaining NIE, the identification number, opening a bank account, and
Bank account,
working with the notary and things like that. So, and a notary isn't the same as a lawyer, is it?
No, yes, obviously we help the people from the beginning of the process. The first thing that you need is the NIE, and obviously the bank account. So we help you with that. We can make a power of attorney. If you are in your country, you don't need to be in Spain. We provide the documents to the notary in UK. We help you to make the apostilla there, because we know that sometimes it's difficult. We provide the documents in two languages, Spanish and English, so we don't need to be after the translation. And we going to make the NIE for you, and we try to open the bank account in your name. It's very important to say that in Spain at the moment, if you want to open an account, I can help you, but it's very important the interview person in person with the client in the bank.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Maybe 10 years ago, we didn't need that, but now, yes, it's needed to be in person. So I can help you to open everything, the process, but you have to have a contact with the bank in one time, just one time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important when you're choosing a bank. I've said this quite a lot of times before on the show, that you choose the bank manager and not
Oh yeah,
necessarily the
it's
bank.
very important. The person who is the contact in your bank, I think that is the most important thing, because they are going to help you in many things later.
Tell us about illegal constructions and why it's important for you to sort out the proper permits for people.
Yeah, the most important thing is to know the legal situation of the property, because sometimes we know, sometimes no, always you think that the property is okay. Nobody knows, or nobody thinks about that the property is illegal or the property has problems. And it's possible. We have two problems. One is the license. For example, in the Costa del Sol, we have many property with problem with the license, and we have to check in the land register, we have to check in the catastro, and we have to check in the town hall what the situation of that property. If the situation with the license has problem, how many problems has, and what type of problem do you have. And another one is the when you buy a property with renovation on some works that the sellers made, we need to know if that works, that renovation has the license, has the permission from the community, from the town hall with the license, because after you buy, after you have all the problems from the community, from the town hall. So I think that is very important to check the situation about if the property has any renovation and the license in the town hall and the land register. Yeah.
Great. Let me just say hello to Ron Haswell. He's in Roquetas de Mar, and Russ Cam. Good morning, Andy F. And Sean, the expat in Mataron. Good to see you on the live chat. And for everyone that's just joining us now, there is a link in the video description below and in the top comment and in the top of the live chat to get in touch with Charisse if you'd like to speak to her about buying or selling a property or property rental. And viewers may have noticed in the corner up here, there is a QR code. And if you learned something of value during today, if you've been entertained, then buy me a coffee. Hover over that QR code, and donate what you think this program has been worth to you. And then the electricity keeps on working, and I keep on smiling. Okay, so let's move on to talk about the taxes involved in buying property, and also when you're selling. Yeah, I bet you get asked about property taxes a lot, don't you?
Obviously, the most important thing now, when you buy or you sell the property, I think that the most important question that we have is about the tax. That what I have to pay, is normal. Okay, I think that we are going to start when you buy. When you buy, we have two type of tax. If you buy new construction, we have to pay the VAT. We have a reduction. Normally, in Spain, the VAT is 21%, but if you buy a house to live or to invest, it's 10%. Okay, but if you buy a second-hand property, you have to pay another one, and depend on the community that you are buying, is between 7 or 10, more or less. For example, in Andalusia, we have 7%, but for example, in Comunidad Valenciana, Alicante, Valencia, is 10%. Okay? If you sell the property, there is one tax that we have to into account, that is the capital gain. There is very complex tax. We have to calculate very good before to put the price on the market, because I think that is an important tax to be into account, and depend always about the price that you bought and the community where you are. So always it's important to check in the price that you bought in that time, where you are, the time that you bought, and now when you are selling. So it's important to calculate, and I think that it's important to calculate before to put the price, because sometimes I have clients that after to have the on the market property and sell, say, oh my god, Charisse, now I have to pay a lot. Yeah, so this is important to have before you decide the price of of the property.
Definitely, yeah. And there's, did you mention stamp duty?
Obviously, Andrews, if you sell a property and you receive incomes about the property, then you have to pay for the non-resident or resident tax, that normal tax that you receive for the money that you have have in gains in that transaction.
And there's, on top of that, of course, there's the notary fees, registry, and the
Yeah,
legal fees.
yeah. Obviously, the most important and the cost most important is the tax, and then we have to, if you buy, you have to pay the cost for the notary and register. Normally, I calculate 1 or 2% more on the price. If you sell, the cost of notary and register is paid by the buyer. Is that very important? Okay. If you sell, only has to be you only has to pay the capital gain. The
Legal.
notary and register has to pay by the buyer, and obviously the legal fees that you consider with the lawyer.
So it's worth knowing, I say, if you're buying a property, just bear in mind that there's going to be maybe 10 to 14% on top of the
No,
value
I
of the property.
normally depend
Maybe.
on the community, but I think yes. For example, if you are going to buy in Andalusia, I always calculate 10% in total for the lawyers, tax, notary, register.
Everything.
Exactly, it's more or less to have a
But
prox.
yeah, but Valencia, maybe 14.
Valencia is, yeah, maybe Valencia is 13%, is higher the tax. Here in Spain, you know that we have the community, and some tax depend on the community that you are, and this one is one of them, and this is quite bad because it's complicated sometimes for the client if are thinking to buy in Valencia or in Andalusia and La Costa del Sol, and sometimes they decide to come to Costa del Sol, obviously because it's 3% less. Obviously, it's you are saving, obviously.
Yes, although property is probably more expensive down here,
Uh,
so
yeah,
there's a balance to there. Yeah,
and now you know that the market in Spain is quite higher. It's quite crazy.
yeah. There's a percentage of people's earnings as well. What you need to pay out on a mortgage or as rental, it's shot up a lot.
And it's very important to mention the mortgage, because if the client needs to have mortgage, we work with brokers specialized in British people who can help to get a mortgage. Okay, if they contact us and they need a mortgage for the property, I will contact with a specialized broker with British people, because obviously it's important to understand the documents that you have in the tax incomes, the documents of your pay slips or the contract that you have of your work, and I can provide that contact, and I think that is very useful.
Yeah, that is so important. The language. We're in the process of
Yes, and
buying a car on finance at the moment, and the finance company have said, well, I'll tell you what, you go to a notary, and we will organise the documents there. Take a translator with you,
oh
and
yeah.
then make sure that you all understand exactly what you're signing. And yeah, so that's part of your job
We
to do that.
provide also, that you mentioned also, the translation. We work with a sworn translator here, and obviously we work and we help with that step of the process. Normally, we translate always the documents to English for our clients, and just to understand, just to be clear. But if we need in the process is any documents to be translated, we have that service. Okay.
Brilliant. I think there was one tax that you didn't mention when you're selling. There's the municipal plusvalia tax.
This is the capital gains.
Uh,
This is the capital gains, and this is the most complex tax to calculate, because depend on the price that you bought, the time that you bought and you sell, the community where you are, the time. So this is why I think that it's better to calculate the plusvalia before to put the price of the market.
yes, yeah, okay, yes, you did talk about that. It was just you didn't say the name of it, so that. At least people will know that that's the same thing now. Good. Now, just a quick plug for some other friends before we continue. I always mention currency exchange, and I've told you all about the brilliant advantages of this company so many times. So I'm just going to say today, use smart currency exchange for bringing your money to Spain or for buying property. And importantly, use the link in the comments and in the video description below. Because as well as getting a free account and free advice and your very own lovely personal broker, you'll actually be helping YouTooSpain as well. And there's no obligation, no extra cost to you. It's a win-win-win with a cherry on top. So there you go. That's my little advert dropped in for the day. And so now it's time to talk about the mistakes and the pitfalls faced by buyers. What are the biggest mistakes that buyers make?
Oh my God, Andres! I think that the principal mistake is that I told you, when the clients come to Spain, they visit the property. The real estate agency say everything is perfect. You have to sign and pay the reservation, and later we have to do a lot of things to make the transaction. I think that is very important to check the property before to sign, because obviously we don't know what happened in the property. Sometimes the property has charge because the seller has debt. Um, about the license that we were talking, about the renovation license, for example. Now we have a big problem with the touristic license here. For example, in Alicante, Valencia, the town hall is not going to give more license at the moment. So, for example, if you want to buy to invest, this is a point that we have to think about it. If the property it's possible to rent or not, if has a provision or not from the community to rent for for touristic. So I think that there are many points to make or to check before to decide to buy. We can sign up, because I know that the market is very hot, and sometimes you see a property and you say, if you don't sign or you don't pay the reservation, obviously there are many clients who wants to buy. I understand that. So my recommendation is, obviously we can make the reservation, we can sign the reservation, but we can add a clause to say everything depends on the due diligence up later of the property. If everything is correct with the license, if everything is correct with the touristic situation for the license, if the debts of the seller, everything that we need. So I understand that the market is very, very hot, and obviously you can lose the property if you obviously takes more time than one day or something like this. But I think that it's important to be with the lawyer together, working in the same way.
And the tourist licenses, is that something you need to buy the property first before you can apply?
Yes, obviously, because we need to apply in your name or in the name of the agency who is working with you in that. In that, yes. But I don't know if you have heard about this. Now we have a problem because it's possible that the community of your building, the urbanization, make a prohibition about the touristic license. So, for example, I have clients that they want to invest because they want maybe to come here just for 1 month in 1 year, and the rest of the time to rent. So, if we have the prohibition, this is not your house. We have to find another one. So, this is an important point.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a bit more later on. That's my final question at the end. Any other common errors and mistakes that buyers make? Have we covered that? It's about different regions. I think there's different requirements.
Another mistake is the problem with the language that I think that we were talking. Obviously, you don't understand very good the documents. They can put a clause that is not very clear, and there is one point that is very important. Is very common with the British people, because when you get married in UK, you get married in the separation of property. In Spain, normally you have a community of property. So sometimes I found a mistake with that, and because the lawyer or the notary or the clients went to the notary alone, and they put incorrect the status marital in the land register. And I think that is very important, because in the case of the people who comes from UK, it's 50-50. Everything is 50-50. After, if you want to make a will, we can have a problem with that. So it's another point to be
Yeah,
to take
it's
into
important. Yeah,
account.
yeah, yeah. That's true. There's also renovations. What's the renovation trap?
Yeah, the renovation is that we were talking. Sometimes you can find properties that the seller made the renovation, and it's not correct. They don't have the license to make that renovation. The community don't allow that renovation. You buy the property, and 1 week later, when the lawyer obviously communicate to the community like, hello, we are the lawyer of the new buyer, we are the new owner of that property, and say, very good, I will send you the formal letter to say that you have to eliminate, to remove that renovation that the seller made, because it's illegal. You don't have the permission. It's in the prohibition of the community, and you say, how is possible if I buy in my, in my best way, is very happy, and we have that problem also.
So we've already talked. Oh, sorry,
Also,
carry on.
I'm remembering a very good, important thing. When you buy a property in Spain, you have 6 months to check the property, and if there are something that is incorrect. Imagine that, for example, you have a problem with water in the from the other house, or something that is incorrect in the house. We have 6 months. That is, in my opinion, is a very short term, because in 6 months it's not possible always to check if everything is okay. But 6 months to say to the seller, look, I think that there is one thing incorrect.
Yeah, especially I guess if you buy in maybe April or May, and you're
Exactly,
not going through the winter, and it's the
exactly.
winter when you discover.
This is a very, very good point. If you buy, for example, now in May, April, and it's not raining, and then it's raining the next year in February. What happened? That is
Yeah,
one
yeah.
year later, and then you have a big problems in the house, and we can do nothing.
There we go. So we've talked about the current challenges in the Spanish real estate market, because we're seeing a lot of broader issues in the market that buyers should be aware of. And yeah, we did talk about the prices going up. Is there anything else that people need to know there?
About the exchange, the currency.
Well, yes, in the market.
Yeah, well, the market now
Hmm.
it's quite crazy. It's very hot. It's changing every day, and obviously it's a point that we have to take into account. If you want to, I think that you mentioned. For the people who comes from UK, it's very good to use a company to make the currency exchange, because it's always better for the change and the money, and it's very security. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, it's just really important to do everything right, isn't it? Because the legal landscape is moving. It's different buying now than it was 10, 20, 30 years ago. You could
Oh
get
yeah,
properties
totally,
for very little.
totally. Now I think that the best investment that you can do in Spain is to buy a property, because the market is very good, and that you say 30 years ago everything was totally different, but now everything is super. I always say it's very hot because it's changing
Mhm.
every day.
Yeah. But again, so many more rules. I mean, there didn't seem to be
Yeah,
as many rules back then, and you could just go out and take cash and buy an old property out in the countryside, and then just
yeah,
hope
I
that
think that
everything's okay. You know.
I think this is a problem that we have in Spain now, that we have many rules. Everything is changing a lot, maybe. But I think to have a clear mention, I think that everything will be good if you want to invest and you want to buy and you want to retire here. Spain is a very good destination. I know that we have many new regulations, but it's okay. We can do it.
Yeah, yeah, I think so, and I think it shows Spain's success economically. That's the country's risen out of problems, especially in 2008 when there was the big crash, and there's
Ah,
problems
exactly.
even since that. But they've recovered and paying off their dets, and they're one of
Yes,
the top
exactly.
countries in Europe now economically.
Exactly. And Andrew, that I have a lot of clients from UK, obviously, and I hate the BBC, because the
Yeah,
BBC is, oh my God, they always put the wrong news, everything is like more urgent. It's terrible. I
yeah,
hate
yeah.
the BBC in UK because they are very
And they're not the worst
dramatic,
either.
dramatic. Yeah,
It's the tabloid newspapers that are the
it's
worst.
terrible.
They
Yeah.
take the smallest thing and just
So
explode it.
my second recommendation is no read the
Don't read the
BBC,
yeah.
and check everything with a lawyer, because sometimes they put some news and they are incorrect.
Yeah, that's true. It's true, and especially about because of the housing problems that people are having.
No, totally,
Uh,
totally.
yeah, yeah, and
Do
that's
you
why
remember?
places like Barcelona, for example, they've stopped giving out the tourist licenses for
Yeah,
property, and they're taking them all away. So you've got to reapply. So that's a difficult place to buy in at the moment, I think.
yeah, because for example, it's the same problem with the Alicante has the same problem. I think that there are cities that are collapsed, and obviously they are not going to give you more touristic license.
There you go. So we'll have to see what happens with that in the near future. Oh,
Yeah.
we have a question from Resonance Filter. How is it that the same house in a new build project can have different prices from different real estate agents? And sometimes the price differences can be tens of thousands.
Oh my God. I think that this is a very good question. And if you find different price is for the commission of the agency. Normally, when you buy a new construction property, the price is in from the promoter. So the price is clear. And they don't have the exclusivity with other agencies, with the agency, and the agency puts on the market different price. I think this is the problem.
Yeah. So what can they do about it? Just
But the
search for the
promoter,
lower price. Yeah.
yeah, this is a very good. It's a good problem. So it's a bad problem because the promoter has very clear the price. The problem is that the agency then change everything.
Yeah. Okay. So you've got to be quick. Is the answer, I guess, for that. Let's see. We've talked about renting out to tourists because of the housing situation. You had a lot to say about that in the notes that you gave me. Is there anything else we haven't talked about? Oh, horizontal property law. Tell us about that.
What?
You've
I
said in
thought
your
that
notes.
you were reading the a question.
Yes, yeah. The April the 3rd, Spain implemented significant changes to its horizontal property law. What's that all about?
Yeah, with the everything is changed a lot and depends on the community. And now, for example, I think that we have to talk about this. We have a new regulation that is coming into enforce the 1st of July. And we have to register the license of your touristic property in a, it's like a national register, for example. So this is a very good point, an important point that you have to we have to do before the 1st of July.
Yeah. Okay. And you get a special identification number. That's
Exactly. And another good point about this, if you want to talk about this, is the permission that we need from the community if you want to rent for touristic. I think that 2 years ago we never think about this, but now it's very important, and we need a certificate from the community allowing that you can take your touristic license.
Yeah, and it says that what is it? 3/5. That's 60% of the community must approve the use of a property for tourist rentals. So
Yeah.
you've got to be liked by the people around you.
Yeah, no, this is a very bad point because I know that normally my clients wants to buy, but they want to rent most of the time or maybe 1 month per year. And yes, and now we have more complicated. It's not totally prohibition, but obviously we have to take more in count that.
Yeah, and that identification number from July the 1st,
Yeah,
that's now going to be absolutely required legally
yeah.
on platforms like Airbnb and Booking.com because they could get fined. What is it?
Yeah,
Up to
because
60,000.
they are going to ask you the number that you are going to get from the national register. Yeah.
So yes, it could be quite complex, but yeah, you need your due diligence. You've mentioned that a few times. So yeah, it's possible, and that's what you specialize in.
I think that we have a new
Oh, a
ah
question.
questions. Yeah.
Yeah, Jason's saying, what is the legal minimum EPC rating on new builds?
What
What's
is
the EPC?
EPC? EPC, what's it means?
Is
I
that
don't.
the energy rating, Jason, that you're talking about?
The energy certificate.
Yes, because he says it will be. Oh, yes, it's going to be E in
Yeah.
2030. Yeah, let's talk about that. The energy ratings are changing. So by 2030, you need to be an E rating if you're going to be selling the property
Yeah.
or renting it out or whatever. And in 2033, it's going to be a D. And that could cost you tens of thousands just to get to E, and then more tens of thousands to get to D.
I think that is a new regulation, obviously, to be more efficient about in electricity and energy system, but is in 2030. There is one exception. If you sell the property and the buyer wants to make renovation, you don't need to give the energy certificate.
Okay. So is
For
that, will that be after 2030 or is that before?
No, it's always if you are going to sell the property and the buyer wants to make the renovation is the only exception that we have, and you don't need to give the certificates. But to be honest, it's not a very I think that is more the people that say, "Oh my God, it's crazy," but it's not very complicated to get that certificate. We are going to provide professional for that because obviously we need an architect or engineer to have the certificate. If in the case that if you have a very old house, maybe you have to make some renovation, but I don't think that is going to be very dramatic.
That's interesting because I was talking to somebody at
Yeah,
our business networking group the other day. Our
and with
friend
the
who's an estate agent, and she was saying she's just had some renovations done to her property to get to the E rating because she wants to have it in advance. And she said it cost something like
this is another very good
20,000.
point to have into account when you are going to decide the price to sell. If you have to make any renovation to have the certificate, obviously we have to take in contact. For that, the most important is to contact with the engineer or architect that they can help you with that.
That's going to be interesting over the next few years. It's so the advice is don't panic. It might
No,
not
no,
be
no,
as
no,
bad
no.
as you think,
No
but
panic, exactly. No panic, no.
and you do have 5 years to sort that out. Well, maybe 4.5 now.
Exactly.
Yeah, and Jason says scared of buying cheaper property before as if it's below D and I can't sell in the future or my kids can't. It's true. If you pass away and to pass your property on to your children, it may mean that they, if it happens in 2030, then they might need to
I
get the
no,
property rating up.
I don't think that you are not going to have any problem because that requirement is if you sell the property,
Uh,
not for if you pass away
Not if
and
you inherit, no.
exactly, not for him.
Okay.
Exactly.
But if you have lots of children and they want to sell immediately to get the money from the property.
We can get the certificate, and I think that we don't have to be scared and it's no panic as you told because I think that we are not going to have problem, and I think that you have to think that problem is for very old house, not for the normal house that we used to have on the market.
This is interesting. It might be a good idea for me to get an architect on the program and just to clarify exactly what it
Obviously,
means to have an E rating and a D rating, and then everybody can be clear on what's needed
yeah,
for their
yeah,
property.
totally, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll do that in the future. There we go. Are there any more questions coming up? There's no more that I can see on there. I've got to say hello to Cubley Adventures. Good morning from not so sunny Yorkshire. Oh, is the weather changing there in England? You've had better weather than Spain up to this point in the year, but
The
it's all
weather here
changing
is
now.
crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. I know, but I think now it's going to be sunny.
I hope, I hope. Look, my call from one
Yeah,
week because the weather is like one day is like summer, one day is winter.
yeah. I'm in my shorts already now, but that's not yet traditional in Spain. You got to wait till the end of May, don't you? Do you know the expression? It's something like "Don't put your coats away until the 40th of May." Is that the right?
Hasta el 40 de mayo no te quites el sayo.
Thank you very much. I was
It's
talking to
like
somebody last week. Yeah,
until 40th of May, you don't put away your coat. It's like because the weather is very changing.
that's true. I'm still wearing my little
Ex-
jacket. It's a very thin one though, but now in my
Exactly.
office, and
Yes.
the sun doesn't fall on this office until round about now, so it's not
No,
warming
no,
up yet.
totally, totally.
Yeah.
So we have times out.
There we go. So, if anybody has, we're running early on the show today. Normally we go for about an hour, but if there's no more questions, then that's okay, because if you need to get in touch with Charisse and talk about that, then her email address is at the top of the live chat. It will also be pinned to the top of the comments after the show, because I can't do it before, and it will also be on the video description.
And it's
So
very important, Andrew, to say that the free consultation, if the people come from your program, so it's important to say, because I think that we have to think and to check the special case and the special purchase of every client.
great. Chris Atkin has a question. What about a property that cannot have extra insulation? Does that exist? If you can't put
Where is that?
insulation in, insulation is where you put extra on the walls and on the windows
Ah,
to stop the heat leaving, or stop the heat coming in.
I think that this is that we were talking. Depend on the community, depend the license that we can do. You cannot do whatever you want in the property. So I think that we have to check before to do every change or every renovation, everything.
Great. And yeah, sorry, carry on.
We have here a very good question. I think that Becca Phillips.
Yes. What's the best region to buy property in Spain? I've looked, but I'm unsure.
I think that Mediterranean area is very good. Obviously, Costa del Sol is cheaper about the tax, but maybe in the price we are higher than Valencia or Alicante. But in Valencia or Alicante, you pay a little bit more for tax. Remember that we were talking about this. But I think that the Mediterranean area is very good investment because you can rent very easy. Everybody wants to buy, so you can sell immediately if you need the money. I think that my recommendation is to the Mediterranean area.
Hamza Zati says thanks very much for the information. And Ruth, she's called Ruth twice. Interesting that you're talking up the Spanish property market. Who would buy a place in Spain now with all these huge taxes and costs? The taxes and costs have always
Are
been
the
there.
same. I think that we don't have any change about this. In the tax and the cost, we don't have any change. It's the same than
Except the
10 years
property.
ago. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
The price, yes, obviously the price is crazy, and the price it could be higher, obviously, because the market is very hot. But the tax and the cost are the same than 10 years ago.
She says it's much better to rent now. Well, I don't know. Rental prices are going up as well.
And the rental, exactly, and the rental contract are very good now. If you want to buy and to rent, it's a very good investment because you can have a very good incomes from the rental contract. Yeah.
Becca says thank you. I will have a look. Yes, it's an interesting task having to look around for property all over the country. I mean, obviously you go inland, you're going to get cheaper property than on the coast.
Yeah, and you make then the.
And then, if you go into the mountains to a popular village like Compita, where I live, then it's going to be more expensive than the smaller villages around you. And if you're in the town, the properties are cheaper than if you're in the camp or
of
outside.
course.
So there's a lot of variation.
And now we are having a lot of clients who comes here and they want to be like a rustic land, a rustic place in the mountain, very quiet, and obviously the price in that case is very good because the demanding is not very high.
Exactly. Tessa Jones says, I'm keen to buy a family home in Montefrio. Where's
Where is
Montefrio?
Montefrio? I don't know.
Something affordable under
I will check.
€100,000. Yeah, that's
It's Granada.
oh, it's Granada. Yes. Well, that is quite a cheap region. I mean, not in the city, but I suppose it's a cheaper city than Malaga, for example.
Obviously, yeah, obviously.
Yeah, but buying out in the countryside, one of the cheapest places. Get yourself a cave house near Baza, which is east of Granada, in the Granada province.
Yeah, maybe because he's asking on the possibility to buy under 10
100,000. Yeah, yeah.
And it's possible, maybe, yes, if you are not in Granada center and it's a town and that you say is not in the very close to Granada, it's possible to find a very good options.
Yeah, yeah. I always said I'd love to have a cave house because the temperature in a cave house is always 18 degrees. In the summer, in the winter, everything, and then you can
Granada
hide
is
there. Yeah, yeah.
Granada is
Although,
very complicated in the because it's very extreme, no? It's like very
mm,
hot and very cold in
yeah, yeah. I know. I have friends who live in Granada province,
yeah.
and there doesn't seem to be any spring,
Exactly. No, no, no,
and
no spring, no
no autumn.
autumn, no
Yeah, it
autumn.
just goes straight away.
Have you been in Granada? It's beautiful.
I love Granada. Yes, I love the
It's
city, and
super beautiful, and the
yeah,
food
yeah.
is very good.
Yeah, and free if you have a beer. Yes,
It's incredible.
I did a video with a friend of mine who lives in Granada, all about why Granada's the best place to live in
And you
Spain.
know that in Granada is very famous the tapa.
Yeah, yeah,
You order a drink and they put a tapa.
I know. It's even if, and this is only in Granada. I think
Yeah,
when
it's only
I just ordered a bottle of water,
yeah, I
and they
know.
brought a tap
And
out,
they
which
put
is
the tapa. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, totally. It's like typical there. Yeah.
And the further away you get from Granada, the kind of the less you get, or the less
So if you
frequently you
go
get
to
it. Yeah,
Granada, you eat very cheap because you only has to order a beer and or wine.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, Tessa says it's difficult to rent in Spain throughout the entire year. So I'm keen to buy. Yeah, long-term rental is they're more difficult to get because
Why?
it is you tend to get more money if you're renting out to tourists. That's because you rent more per week if
And do
you're
you?
good at doing it.
I think not really. I think that we have to calculate. I always talk about this with my clients because we have to calculate if you rent for long term with a good contract. Because remember that if you don't have a very good contract in the rent with the rental situation, we can have problem later. But you have to think about the cost that you have if you rent for touristic. You have a lot of cost
Yeah, you have a
and
lot of
expense
work.
and a
Yeah,
lot of work. And normally the agency takes 20% of the income. So sometimes it's better to rent for long term and not for because the people only think about the short term. Wait, maybe we have to calculate and to think about the long term.
yeah, true. And Tessa says computer is a second choice to buy. That's great. It's very popular. It was on. It's been on Place in the Sun quite a lot in Computer and in the Campo. So it's a
I think that
very popular
Competa has
place.
a very good location because it's close. How long it's to Malaga?
To Malaga Airport is an hour and 5 minutes. But yeah, or just
Five
an hour
minutes.
into the city. Yeah, an hour and
It's
5 minutes.
it's super. The
Yeah,
location is incredible,
yeah, and half of the time it takes you to get to the motorway is
and
that 25
and
minutes down the mountain,
it's
and
cheaper than Malaga
yeah,
and quieter.
yeah, yeah, except when the ferry is on.
But you know that the ferry is in Spain is the most important.
Oh yeah, yeah, very important. Yeah, and well, I mean, we are officially in the Campo, but it's what about 20 meters from
From
the
the
edge of the
ferry. Yeah.
village. Yeah, so we've got we get water and electricity from the village. So we're in the
Yeah,
city.
yeah,
So
yeah.
we get the best. So we don't have the problems that people have, 20 meters up the road, up the hill,
Ah,
who are
super,
who are
super.
proper campo.
I go super.
Yeah, but we're looking down on the village, which is brilliant. Means we get the noise when there's music playing or whatever. But we love it.
Yeah,
I'm
you
I'm
have.
a musician
And
anyway,
did you
so
know? Did you know that when you buy or when you bought or when you rent it or it was new?
well we rented it and yeah we didn't know what it was going to be like,
You
but
didn't know
we
nothing
just
about the
we
feria.
just not really, no, when we moved here, where we knew that there was going to be parties because Spain is a party country.
It's the party country, totally. I Totally. I agree.
Yeah, and yeah, and especially for you love having your children with you and its families. So it's not like in England, for example, where when people go out to party, it's very noisy and very drunk.
No,
Not
here
quite the
I think
same
that
here.
is different because it's very family. It's true.
And Jason says, Skatz, as you rent, I think you should talk to your landlord about his plans for his property you rent for him. Don't worry, I talked to him. Yeah. But thank you for the advice. Yeah, because we are coming to the end of the rental contract in 2026, the end of
Yeah.
the 5 years. So that could be a point when, we have to negotiate a new contract, the
And
rental
the,
cost
and
of
the,
the lot.
and the same that we were talking about the if you are going to buy and if you want to rent, I think that is very important to check the contract before to sign because sometimes the landlord try to put some clause that they are not totally legal, and they try to make a prohibition that they are not legal. So I think that is very important to check the contract before to sign in the same situation.
Exactly. Oh, Yogi says good morning and has given a little donation. That thank you very much. And he's just passing through, so he's at the gym as
And
usual.
at the
So
gym,
he's on his one of his running machines, I guess. So
very good
great.
for Saturday, the gym.
Yeah, absolutely. He always seems to be down there. He's a lovely man. And okay, so any more live chat questions? Ask away now. And while we're waiting for those to come through, just give us a summary, Charisse, of what you've been talking about.
I think that our summarized needs to be check and consider to have a legal advice before to sign any contract, because we are talking about the rental contract and are very important also. Obviously, if you are going to buy or you're going to sell, I think that you have to take into account many things that maybe you don't think about this, but the lawyers obviously yes. So I think that. It's very, and every case is different, every client is different, every property is different. So this is why I say obviously the first meeting will be free if they come from your program, and I think that we have to check all the documents and to make the correct due diligence before to decide if you are going to sell or if you want to buy.
Once again, sorry about the noise in the background. We're
Yeah,
in a
sorry.
hotel lobby and they're obviously getting ready for
Sorry.
lunchtime by the sound of it. So that's no problem. I can hear what you're saying anyway, so that's
Sorry,
good.
sorry.
That's all right. And Tessa Jones says, I'm half Spanish. My mum's from Valencia, but it's too expensive. Well, Valencia is one of the cheaper places, but she's concerned about the climate. As she's from Queensland, Australia, where it's humid most of the year. I need weather content. Okay, so weather. If you want less humidity, go up into the mountains a bit
Yeah.
above kind of 400 meters, maybe that, because we can look down from here. We're about 700 meters above sea level, and we look down on the humidity. You can actually see the humidity down on the coast.
In Marbella,
I'd,
we have a lot of humid.
yeah, it's true. But then again, you get warmer temperatures in the winter because of it.
Yeah, we have
So
a very good weather. Yeah, all the
So
year.
there's a balance, and if you go further east from here, there's Murcia has its own kind of microclimate, and
Yeah,
then you go up onto the Costa Brava and onto Alicante, Valencia, up that way. Then
I think that the
different as
Mediterranean
well.
area,
Yeah, yeah, and it's Murcia is facing storms today, I think, and up in that area, they've got really bad weather. So, but we haven't down here; it's all completely blue sky. So,
better here, better here.
yeah. Yeah, so if you need any more weather across Spain, a lot of people tend to be looking down at the bottom of Spain, but if you go to northern Spain, up in the mountains there, the weather is uh, much more like I don't know, much more like France, I guess, because you get lower temperatures, you get much wider seasons, you get snow in the winter.
Yeah,
There's mountains up there, and it's a lot greener.
and depends if you decide to go to the north or you're going to like us in the Costa del Sol.
Yeah, and then there's central Spain,
The
which is
central, you know that I'm from Madrid, so Madrid is very extreme temperatures also.
Yeah. So Tessa says, wow, thank you. There we go. So that is about all we've got time for this week. I've got some workmen coming around to give it. We need a new remote control for our electric gate, because my wife a few years ago, she lost her car keys with the remote on. So we've only had one, so we've been swapping it between us, and so we're finally getting a new key if you can program it in today. So anyway, that's my little problem for the day. And so everybody, make sure you click on the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll tell you in a moment who your special guest will be next week. But first, let's just give Charisse a big virtual kiss and a hug and say goodbye for now. It's been an absolute pleasure. And hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Obviously. Thank you very much, Andres.
Brilliant. You're very welcome. Bye-bye for now. So wasn't that wonderful and loads of fun? I hope we've answered all of your questions. And of course, if we haven't immediately answered them, then you can ask them in the comments, or even better, get in touch with Charisse directly on her email address, which is, I believe, info@cpglawyers.es. I hope I've got that right, but I will put it in the comments, in the video description, and everywhere else, so you can find that. And do tell her that you saw her on YouTooSpain. So who do I have on the show next week? Well, of course, it's Chris from Upsticks with our regular fortnightly format where we answer all of your questions, usually about residency and visas. We will have had on the 20th of May, in 3 days' time, the new rules coming into law. So we might be talking about that again, or we might be looking at one specific part of it. But it will be announced what our main feature is about on our Facebook page. And also Chris has his own YouTube channel at Upsticks. He does a live update on Thursday evening at 6 o'clock in the evening Spanish time. So if you watch that, he will announce what the show is going to be about on Saturday. And of course, we'll have our usual Ask Us Anything and Frequently Asked Questions segment, and the argument that we always have at the end about something important or unimportant or hilarious or all three. And you can ask questions in advance on our Facebook page and you will be answered. There's a Facebook page and a Facebook group, so make sure you like and follow them both. It's worth being part of them both. Sometimes there are different things going on there. So thank you very much to all of you for joining us and leaving comments and hitting the like button and supporting us with donations up there on the Buy Me a Coffee. There's also a patron page where you can become Patreon page, where you can become a patron. There's a super link in the video description below where you can find all of the links to do with me and YouTooSpain, and also the Skatz man, which is my name when I go out doing gigs. And so it's all very much appreciated, all of the contact and the memberships and donations that you give us. I'll see you either on the midweek video at 6 p.m. Spanish time, which this week is going to be all about the 9180 rule and the EES and ETIAS system. We'll give you an update on that on Wednesday. Or, of course, we'll see you live next Saturday morning at 10 o'clock Spanish time. Or that's 9 o'clock in the UK or in the Canary Islands or in Portugal. I think that's all of the places where it's 9 o'clock. Anyway, that's all for this week. Someone pass around the property cookies. So peace and love to all of you. Peas and fluff. And here's one final message from all of the voices in my head here at YouTooSpain.
Wave goodbye, lads. Bye. Goodbye. Toodaloo. Peace and love. Peas and fluff. Oi, oi. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. One more cosmic dance? All right, then. Look, Mum, I'm dancing. Oh, I'm all a quiver. Let's dance.